Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the multi-seller marketplace module. If you want to convert your store from a single seller to a multi-seller platform where different users can sign up as sellers and list their products in your store, you will need to set up the multi-seller marketplace module. So for us to set up the multi-seller marketplace module, we navigate to the store management section and select settings. In the settings section, we select modules. So here in the modules page, we navigate to select the selling products category option here. So here we can now proceed to search for the multi-seller marketplace. So as you can see it here. So for us to set up the module, we go ahead and click on the edit button here. So this is the marketplace general settings page. So the first thing you should note before you begin to set up the marketplace module is that once we activate the multi-seller marketplace module, you and your sellers will only be able to post physical products in the store. So all other product types will be disabled once you activate the multi-seller marketplace module. So for us to begin the setup, the first thing we have to do here is we go ahead and enable the marketplace module by selecting yes here. So once we select yes here and save, so you will notice that when we navigate to the product section, so we select products, you'll notice that if we click on the add button here, so you see that only the physical products, you can only create physical products. So I'll go ahead and disable it so that you see that once we disable the marketplace module, all the other product types will be available. So let's go ahead and disable it. So we go back to the module section here and select selling products category. So here is the multi-seller marketplace module. So we open it. So I'll proceed to disable it again. All right, so now that I've disabled it, we go back to the product section. So here I select the add product button here. So you see that in the product create form, the other product types are now available for you to create these types of products. So what this means is that the multi-seller marketplace module is only compatible with the physical product type. So once we activate the module, we can only create and sell physical products in the store. All right, so let's go back and continue setting up the multi-seller marketplace module. So we go back to the modules page, we select the selling products category, and then we go ahead and click on the edit button here. So we'll now proceed and enable it again. So once we enable it here, we can set the commission that you earn when a customer orders a seller's product in the store. So let's leave this as we can set it as 20%. So this second option here allows us to define the maximum number of times that a seller can request for account reactivation. So this is useful if you have approved a seller's account. So the seller will be able to request for reactivation based on the number you put here. So we can change it to 5. So what that means is that the seller will be able to request for reactivation a maximum of 5 times. So here we can set the maximum number of products that a seller can upload in the store. So currently it's set as 50. We can change this to 100. So in this section here, we can enable any of these options. So for this one, if we select yes, so the seller will be able to register in the storefront. Here enables us to manually approve the new products uploaded by the seller. If we select no, that means once a seller posts a new product, the product will automatically be active in the store. So, but for this example, we select yes. So here it means that whenever a customer orders a seller's product, the seller will receive an email notification about the new order. And then whenever a seller or a customer cancels an order, the seller will receive an email notification regarding the customer's cancellation request. We can enable things like seller reviews. We can also enable the ability to approve new reviews made by customers. So this will allow us to display the seller's profile page in the storefront. And then we have the option to allow the sellers to manage orders. So all these other options, we can leave them as they are optional. So here we'll now proceed to enter the seller agreement. So let's go ahead and type this. So note that the information you put in here will be available in the seller account registration page. So the seller will have to agree to whatever you have written here as the terms before they can create a seller account in the store. So this section allows us to adjust the email template that will be sent to a seller when customer orders the seller's product. So we can go ahead and adjust any of the content here, but take note of the shortcodes, as we don't need to adjust this because changing this will affect the email template. So the shortcode represents data that will be displayed. For example, the first name and last name shortcode, once the email is sent to the customer, will show the actual first name and last name of the customer. So note that you can add any additional content you want to this email template. So this second email template is the email notification that will be sent to the seller when a customer cancels an order. So here too, we need to be mindful of the shortcodes, as we don't have to touch or change that. But we can add, let's say, any other text here. Let's say we want to adjust the phone number. You can come here and do that. All right. You can also change this text here. So once you adjust the email templates for new orders and order cancellation, here we can set the default order status that will be set for an order when a customer cancels the order. So currently we set it as cancelled. So what this means is that when a customer cancels an order, that's after ordering a seller's product, the order will automatically be set as cancelled. So here we can restrict the categories that will be available for sellers. So if we don't want the sellers to be able to choose all the categories that is available in the store, we can come here and select from the available categories. So let's say if we want the seller to be able to post products in the electronics and the jeans category, so we can restrict it by selecting the categories here. So, but if we want the sellers to be able to post products in all the categories, we can just go ahead and delete it. So leaving it blank means that the seller will be able to add product to any category in the store. So once we make all the adjustments to the general section here, the next thing we do is we go ahead and save. All right, so now that we have saved this and activated the multi-seller marketplace module, the next thing we have to do is we proceed down to the navigation section here and select the PayPal mass payout option here. So selecting this will allow us to set up the PayPal mass payout settings for the multi-seller marketplace module. So the PayPal mass payout is used to process payout for sellers who prefer to be paid in, who prefer their earning to be paid into their PayPal account. So when we enable this, we will need to provide certain information here. So we need to set up and provide the PayPal app client ID and also provide the PayPal app client secret key. So for this information, you can learn more on how to generate the client ID and secret key by clicking on the help button here. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see that there is a help guide here on how to generate the client ID and secret key in using your PayPal merchant account. So once you do this, we can also set up the subject of the email that will be sent to customer when the PayPal mass payout is processed. So for this example, we'll leave this place blank, as you can see the help snippets at the bottom regarding how to set up the options here. So once we are done with setting up the marketplace PayPal payout settings, the next thing we do is we navigate down to the navigation section here and select the email templates option. So this is where we can adjust the email templates that will be used to send email notifications to the sellers and admin users in the store. So for example, if we want to adjust the welcome email that is sent to sellers when they create an account, we can go ahead and select the edit button here. So we click on it. So here we can go ahead and adjust the email template. So for example, you can come here and enter ABC, and then we can adjust the phone number here. All right. And then we can also remove these options at the bottom. All right. So once we adjust the email templates, and if we want to adjust the subject, we can do that as well, but we'll leave it as it is. So after making all the necessary adjustments to the email templates, we go ahead and save. All right, so this is an example on how you can adjust the marketplace email templates. So we can do that for these other ones as well if we want to make adjustments to them, but we'll leave it as it is. So after we've adjusted the email template, we can navigate back to the general settings for the marketplace by selecting the navigation option here and select general settings here. So we can check this as well one last time to be sure that we have done all the necessary settings. So after we have checked the settings here, you can always go back to the previous sections by selecting it here. So once we are sure that we have completed the setup of the multi-seller marketplace general settings, we can go ahead and save again. All right. So now that we have completed the settings, you will notice that for us to be sure that the module is active, we can access the seller section by navigating to the store management section here and select the option there. So selecting the store management section, you will see that a new menu has been added called sellers. So selecting the menu, you see that we have the option to choose other menus under the seller sub menu. So these are the various sections of the multi-seller marketplace module that will enable us to manage the seller accounts, process sellers orders, track sellers earnings, and so forth, so on and so forth. So now that we have completed the setup of the general settings, the next thing we have to do is we proceed to the store front end and create a test seller account. So to do that, we come here and select store. So this will open the store front end. So in the store front end, to create a new seller account, we come here and choose the register option. All right, you see that in the account registration page, we have the option to register as a seller here. So what we do is we proceed to create the seller account. So I go ahead and select yes. And then here we can access the seller agreement. So the seller will need to read through and agree to the terms you specify here. So let's proceed and complete the setup process. All right, so we add the city. So for this, we say it's test. All right, we add the country. So here we also add the states. All right, so we'll now proceed to enter the password for the seller account. All right, so we go ahead and click on this button to create the seller account. All right, so you can see that the seller account has been created. So the next thing we do is we click on the continue button here. to access the seller account dashboard. So this is the seller panel. So you can see that once the seller logs into the seller account, the seller will be able to access the seller panel to enable the seller manage products, view orders, and process payout requests, and also access the support tickets that has been posted by customers. So you notice that after we have created the seller account, you see that the seller account will need to be approved before we can begin to add products and manage orders. So once a seller creates an account, if you want to approve the seller's account, the next thing we do is we navigate back to the admin panel here, and then in the admin panel we navigate to the store management section and select sellers. So in the seller sub menu, we go ahead and select the seller account approval option here. All right. So you can see that in the seller account approval request page, you can see the new seller account that we created. So for us to approve the seller account, we come here and then click on the approve button. All right, so the new seller account has now been approved. So for us to check this, let us go back to the seller panel. So once I refresh the page, this warning message will disappear. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. All right, so you can see that the account has been approved. So now that the account has been approved, the next thing the seller has to do will be to set up the seller profile. So to do that, we navigate to the menu section here and select seller profile option here. So here we'll now proceed to set up the seller profile by filling the form here. So the next thing I'll do is I go ahead and fill in the seller's store information. So for the first one, we type in the store name. So this should be the business name of the seller. So for this example, we say ABC Store. So here we put the seller's phone number. We add the seller's business email address. All right, so we leave this as the primary email. Then here we can set the country. So for this example, we leave it as United Kingdom. We leave the state as Bristol. So here we now add the seller's office address or store physical address. All right. So this section allows us to provide a brief description about the seller's business. You can say this is a test seller. All right. So here will allow us to add the social media, the links to the social media pages for this seller profile. So let's go ahead and add it. Add the Instagram. Add the Twitter. All right, so the next thing we have to do here is to add the seller's business logo. So for this example, we go ahead and click on the upload button here, and then we go ahead and set. All right, so we add this as a sample. So here we can add a banner that will show in the top section of the seller's profile page, but we'll leave this as it is. So once we have finished setting up the general section here, let's proceed by clicking the continue button. So in this section, we'll set the meta keywords and description. So we type in meta keyword as test seller. So we can now also add other keywords that represents what the seller is listing in the store. So for example, if the seller sells bags, type in bags, shoes, clothes. All right, let's just say bags and shoes. So here we can set the meta description as well. So note that this meta information is used mainly for search engine optimization purpose. So we just say this is a test seller. So this can be a brief or detailed description about what the seller's business is all about, and a detailed description of what the kind of products the seller is listing in the store. So once we are done with setting up the meta information, we click on the continue button. So in this section, we'll set the return policy and shipping policy. So we type in a test product return policy. All right. So for this, we also type in all right. So once we have set the return policy and shipping policy that will show in the seller's profile page, we click on the continue button. So in this section, we are going to set the payout method for this seller account. So we select bank transfer. We can also choose PayPal, but for this example, we select the bank transfer option. So here we enter the bank details. Set the bank account number here. Set the bank name and address. All right, so once we have set up the necessary information regarding the payout method, we can always go back to the previous sections if we want to make any adjustment to any of the sections. So once we are certain that we have filled in the correct information, we go ahead and save. All right, so now we have set the seller's profile. So for us to check this, we can go ahead and click on the view button to view the seller profile. All right, so this is the seller's profile in the storefront section. You can see the description we set earlier, the return and the shipping policy as well. So the next thing we have to do after setting the seller's profile is we can proceed to add the seller's product. So the seller can come back to the seller panel to add products that will show in the storefront section. So for the seller to add products using the seller panel, we navigate to this menu section here and select products. In the product list page, we click on the add button here. So here we add a test product, add a description, we can add the meta tag title. This should be the name of the product. So we leave the meta tag description and keyword as it is optional. So we click on the continue button. Here we set the model number as 20. We leave all these other options as it is optional. We set the product price. All right. We set the quantity as 100. So we can leave this as yes for the subtract stock. Require shipping since it's a physical product, we select yes. For the keyword, we set it as test seller products. So we need to also set the product weight. This is in kilogram. We set the weight as 5 kilograms. So once we have set the data section, we click on the continue button here. So here we can allocate the product to categories, manufacturer. We can set related products here. So for this example, we must set the product category. So let's go ahead and select the jeans category. So once we set the category, we proceed. So for the attributes, we can leave it as it is optional. We can also leave the options section as it is optional. We leave the discount and special price as well. So for the last section here, we'll now add an image for the product. So let's go ahead and upload an image. So for this example, we can use this as a product image. So what we do next after we have set up, we can always go back to the previous sections. So once we are ready to save the product, we come here and save. All right. So you can see that the product has been added to the store. So note that once you post the product, since we had set up in the multi-seller general setting to approve new products, the product will need to be approved before it is available in the storefront end. So for us to approve this product as the admin user, we navigate back to the store management section and select sellers. So in the seller section here, we go ahead and select the product approval menu option here. All right. So you can see that in the product approval list page, you see we have the product that we just added and it is pending because it needs to be approved. So for us to approve this product to make it available in the storefront, we go ahead and click on the approve button here. All right, you can see that the product has been approved. So to confirm this, let us navigate back to the seller panel here. And then in the product page, you see that when we refresh the page, the product status will change from disabled to enabled. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. All right, you can see that the product has been approved. All right, so now that we have set up the product, the next thing we have to do is we can proceed to make a test order. So for us to order this customer's product, we go back to the storefront by logging out of the customer account. All right, so now that we've logged out of the customer account, if we navigate to the home page here and scroll down, the new seller's product has been added here. So clicking on it, you can see that there is a section that indicates that this product belongs to a seller. So here will enable us to contact the seller or leave a review. And we can also view other products that have been posted by this seller. So let's go ahead and click on this option. So clicking on this will take us to the seller's profile. So in the seller's profile page, you can see that we can view the list of all the products that the seller has added to the store. So for this example, we want to order the seller's product. So to order this product, we go ahead and select it. And then we add it to cart. So we proceed to checkout. All right. We select the payment method. All right. So here we can now proceed to confirm the order. All right. So once the order has been placed, as you can see in the next page, we have placed the order. So we can view this seller's order in the admin panel. So to do that, we navigate back to the admin panel here, and then in the store management section, we select sellers. So in the seller section here, to view orders that belongs to sellers, we navigate and select the seller's orders option here. So you can see that in the seller's order page, you can see the order that has been placed for this seller product. So from here, we can view the order or we can edit the order. So let's say we want to view the order. We go ahead and select it. So you can see the order here. So we can also process the order if we want to do that by updating the order status here. So let's go back to the seller orders page by navigating to the store management section and select sellers. So here we select sellers orders option. So in addition to processing this, note that the seller can also process this order if we have enabled the feature for the seller to do that. So for us to confirm if we have enabled the option for the seller to process orders, we navigate back to the multi-seller marketplace module by selecting store management section and select settings. So here we select modules. So here we choose the selling products category, and then we go ahead and click on the edit button for the multi-seller module option here. So for us to confirm if the option to enable sellers to manage order is active, in the general settings section, we scroll down to the option that says allow order handling. So if this is set to yes, so what this means is that sellers will be able to change the order status for orders that has been made for their product. So let's go ahead and make sure that this is set as yes, and then save it again. So now that we've confirmed that the seller can process order, as a seller, let's go back to the seller account in the storefront end. So we log into the seller account. So first log out of this customer account. So once we are logged out, we log into the seller account. So we select seller account option here. So here we now log in to the seller account. All right, so in the seller panel, for us to manage this order that has just been made by a customer, we navigate to the orders menu and select it here. So here you can see the order that was placed by a customer. So to view the order details, we click on the view button here. So here you see that since we have enabled the seller to manage the order, the seller has the option to update the order status here. So the seller can also add the shipping tracking number if the seller wants. So let's say we have processed this order. For us to update the status, we tick on the product here and select the complete order status. You can type in any comments here, let's say, and then we submit. So once we submit it, you can see that the order for this product status has been updated to complete. So what this means is that the seller has shipped the product to the customer. So this is an example on how a seller can manage a customer's order. So when a customer makes an order and buys a seller's product, for the admin user to be able to track the earnings for the sales, we can track the earnings for the admin by navigating back to the admin panel here. And then in the store management section, we select sellers. So here, for us to track the earnings from sales made by sellers in the store, we can proceed to select the commissions option here. So you can see that in the commission section, it shows us the commission that the admin has earned from the sale that was just made in the store. So you can see the total earnings. So this is what the admin has earned, and this is what the seller has earned. So note that the seller can also view this. Let's say we want to view this as a seller. We navigate back to the seller panel here, and then here we can proceed to choose earnings. So we select this option here. So this will show us the earnings from sales, as you can see here. So we can view it based on earning history, or we view it based on order. You can see the earnings here. So let's say as a seller, you want to make a payout request. So for you to make a payout request, you navigate to the payout request section here. And then here you can see the current balance. So let's say we want to make a transfer of, let's say, 400 from our balance to the payout bank account of this seller. Seller will come here and click on the new payout request. So here we enter 400. For the reason, we'll say all right. So once we enter the reason, we go ahead and submit the request. So you can see that the request has been submitted and is awaiting approval. So once a seller submits a payout request, as the admin user, to process the payout request, we navigate back to the admin panel, and then in the store management section we select sellers. So here in this sub menu section, to view and process the seller's payout request, scroll down here and select the seller's payout request option here. So here you can see the request that was just made by the seller. So for us to process this, we have the option to either approve it or disapprove it. So let's say in this example we want to approve it. We go ahead and click on the approve button here. So this will enable us to view the bank account of the seller, so we can make the transfer to this bank account here. So to do that, once we have done it, we proceed to fill in a transaction ID. So for example, we put 10. So here we now put in the comment. All right, so once we have done this, we submit it. So once we submit it, you can see that the pending payout request is no longer visible because it has been processed. So this is an example on how you can process sellers payout requests. As the admin user, you can also track all the transactions made by sellers, or all the transactions made on a seller's account. Transactions like payout requests made on a seller's account, you can track it. So to track such transactions, you navigate to the store management section and select sellers. So in the sellers sub menu here, for us to track seller account transactions, we go ahead and select the seller account transactions menu here. So once we select it, you can see that in the seller transactions page, you can see the recent transaction we made to the seller's account. So from here, you can see this is the current earning for this seller. You can see the commissions. You can see the amount transferred, to the total amount transferred to the seller's bank account, and then you can see the current balance of this seller's earnings. So we can also filter this, selecting this option will show us the transaction history here as well. So, but let's go ahead and change it back to the seller balance history. So note that sellers can also track transactions made on their account. So for a seller to do this, we navigate to the seller panel section here. So in the seller panel, we go ahead and select transactions menu here. So this will show the seller the list of all the transactions. So you can see that in this page, the seller can view the total earnings, total amount credited. This is the amount transferred from the earnings to the seller's either bank account or PayPal account. Total debited, so this is the amount deducted from the seller's account. And then here we can see the current balance of the seller's earnings. So this section shows that a credit transaction was made, which was the payout request that was processed for this seller. So This is just an example on how the seller can view and track transactions made on the seller's account. So one more thing we have to be mindful of here is that the seller can also view the commission settings. So for example, if we select commissions here, you see that the seller can view the current commission rates. And if the admin user sets up category commission, the seller can also view and track it using this page. So the customers can also submit questions to the seller. Maybe if the customer has a problem with a product that was ordered in the store, the customer has the option to submit support tickets that the seller can answer and resolve the issue. So in the next step, we are going to simulate this by logging out of the seller account here. So once we log out, we will navigate to the seller's product. So for us to view the seller's product, we scroll down here, and then in this bottom section we select sellers. So here in the seller section we select the seller. So in the seller profile page we select the product. So here you see this option that says contact seller. We can use this option to submit a support ticket to the seller. So let's go ahead and select it. So you can see that once we select it, it will open the new ticket form. So let's go ahead and fill the form. All right, we enter the customer's email, the first name, enter the phone number. So for the subject, we say for the issue, we say so once we type in the issue, we can go ahead and submit the ticket by clicking the submit button here. All right, so now that we've submitted the ticket, the next thing we do is we go ahead and copy the ticket ID, because the seller will need this ID to track the ticket. So after submitting the ticket, as a seller, let's say we want to reply this customer. The next thing we do is we proceed back to the home page here and then log into the seller account. All right, so in the seller panel, for us to access the customer support ticket, in the menu section here, we scroll down and select support tickets menu here. So you can see that in the tickets page, the support ticket that was submitted is visible here. So for us to view the details of the ticket, we come and click on this section. So in the ticket details page, you can see details of the issue, and we can proceed to reply this customer by filling the reply form here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we change the status to awaiting reply, and then we submit it. So now we have replied this customer. So let's say we we want the customer to provide us additional information. So as a customer, to reply this ticket, we go ahead and log out of the seller account. So once we log out, in the storefront page, we scroll down to the extra section here and select the view tickets option. So here we will now proceed to add the ticket ID here and then put the email address. So once we have entered this information, we go ahead and click on the check button. So this will open the ticket details page here. So you can see here, this is the reply that we received from the seller. So let's go ahead and reply the seller by typing in our reply here. So once we provide the reply, we click on the post button. All right, so now we have replied the seller. So in this example, I've shown you how to manage customers support tickets. So now that we have an idea on how the customers can manage tickets and the sellers can also post products. So as the admin user, you can go back to the seller section by selecting store management and select sellers. So here we can view the approved sellers by selecting the sellers list menu here. So this section will show us the list of all the sellers we have in the store. So take note of this help section here. Note that every page in the seller section has a help section. So for example, if we open the seller's product section, so you can learn more about any of the pages by clicking on the help button here. All right, so let's go back. Let's select another page. So see that each of the pages have a help section. All right, so in this video, I've shown you how to set up the multi-seller marketplace module, how to create seller accounts, and how you can manage seller payout requests, and also how the sellers can manage and communicate with customers in your store. Thank you for watching.